Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and just wanted to do a very quick video on Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. I usually say my videos are going to be quick and then they end up going 20 minutes long, but I swear this is going to be a quick one because there's really not a lot I can say about Uncharted: The Lost Legacy that doesn't pertain to Uncharted 4. It is Uncharted. It's got everything you can expect to have with Uncharted games. It's got, gorgeous scenery, check. Great acting, check. Explosive, bombastic, incredible set pieces, check. Those moments when you're climbing where you jump up to a ledge and then it breaks, but then somehow you manage to catch onto something at the bottom, check, check, and check. All there. And people have described it as like a greatest hits album, and that's a pretty apt description of The Lost Legacy. So, the things that are interesting that set The Lost Legacy apart from the likes of the original Uncharted trilogy, and more specifically Uncharted 4, is that this is kind of flirting with an open world Uncharted structure. There is one chapter in the middle of the game where you're allowed to tackle the missions in any order you see fit, and there are quite a handful of side objectives you can complete, like challenge, combat encounters, puzzles. Some of them are like difficult puzzles in the game are in these optional spots, which is a good thing. And I'm not going to spoil what it all leads to, but I gotta say I wasn't all that crazy with where it ended up. However, I liked the mild flirtations with open world gaming that Uncharted: The Lost Legacy's the one solo chapter brings to the table, because I can see in a future, unfortunately, where Uncharted could bring in more open world design, and I think here this is an interesting little step into the shallow end of the pool before going into the deep end. And I think it's fine. I think the objectives themselves were fun. It's just I wish the end result was a lot more satisfying. A couple bugs here and there as well. One bug I encountered really early on is when it's actually during like the big reveal. Like, do you remember that trailer for The Lost Legacy that was shown at PlayStation Experience where you had the moment where Chloe is fighting on the rooftop and then Nadine comes and helps her out, and they do that move where like you kick the guy off the roof and all that? Well, it doesn't exactly happen like that in the final game. What happened with me is, and I wish I had gotten video footage of this, is where you are fighting and all of a sudden you can punch a guy off the roof, but then the game just stops and the characters kind of look down like something else is about to happen, and it was stuck. The solution for unfucking the bug was I had to jump off the roof to my death. And so far, mid-jump, that is when it was fine. Like, the game just proceeded as usual. It was just such a weird, jarring little bug. And it wasn't game-breaking, but it was just, for Naughty Dog's usual seal of quality, it was a surprisingly big and early encounter that I was kind of taken aback by. Also, what I think is rather impressive about this game is that it goes to show that you don't need Amy Hennig, you don't need Neil Druckmann, you don't need Bruce Straley to have these games come out that aren't written by these guys but feel like Naughty Dog games, because in spirit and in gameplay mechanics and in like the cool little things that they do, this is a Naughty Dog game through and through. And really the big litmus test is for whether or not you're going to like The Lost Legacy is, do you love Uncharted? Do you want more Uncharted after Uncharted 4 ended? If the answer is yes, then you're going to dig the hell out of The Lost Legacy. If you don't, then I would not recommend it. However, it brings into an interesting prospect where this is $40 compared to the $60 of Uncharted 4. And some people have been a little hesitant to part with their money on this one, seeing as how it is, they consider a DLC, which for $40, this is actually a pretty decent standalone experience. It's not the full $60 because I completed it on normal difficulty, completing all the side objectives in about 7-8 hours, which is pretty good. Plus, you got the fact that the multiplayer is there, and all the updates and all the survival modes are in there, which, you know, if you want to play the Uncharted 4 multiplayer, which I'm probably never going to touch, then that's there. So they're not cutting a lot of people out, and you get to play with everyone that owns Uncharted 4 already. So that's pretty good. But as far as these, you know, Sony has been kind of experimenting with these standalone expansions. Like, you got the infamous First Light. I think there was another Infamous game that has standalone expansion. And this is another one that's continuing that trend. And this is something I like to see. I think standalone expansions are consumer friendly if reasonably priced. Like, I think First Light was reasonably priced. I think Lost Legacy is reasonably priced. And this is just another evolution of that, where they're allowed to try new things, but it's still keeping within the spirit and tone of Uncharted. So my only concern with this, though, is that I hope Sony doesn't start cranking these things out every year, because once is fine, because I think Lost Legacy is very good. It's just, I hope Sony does legit take a break after Lost Legacy. Like, they had their DLC, they fulfilled the obligations that they had to the public because of the stupid season pass, and it's done. Let's not have another Uncharted game for another like 5 years, guys. Let's give Nathan Drake and Co time to breathe. So that being said, like I said, the litmus tests. Do you love Uncharted? Do you want more Uncharted? Yes, buy the Lost Legacy. You're sick of Uncharted, you don't like it, then no, I would not recommend it. However, I think this game in particular has probably the grand Mac Daddy of all finales in not only this series, but in PlayStation history. I'm not going to get into specifics, but I was on the edge of my fucking seat during the finale of this game. When it ended and the credits started to roll, I just stood up and just gave it a standing ovation. I thought the ending to this game, the final big set piece, is going to make any Uncharted fan, like, fucking shit themselves with joy. It is that good. And I don't want to disappoint people, but man, it was fucking something. I loved it. So that kind of boosted my opinion of the game overall. But I still really like Uncharted The Lost Legacy overall. I think if you're an Uncharted fan like me, if you own a PS4, this is one of the exclusives that, yes, I would recommend buying, because it is pretty much more Uncharted. And for the price and for what you get for it, I'd say it's worth it. Totally worth it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Uncharted The Lost Legacy. And as always, have a good one, everyone. Take care.